Hey folks, welcome back to the Weekly Spark and what is usually your regular roundup of what's been happening in the worlds of Kindle, e-ink, iPad and related tech. However, this week, instead of covering a handful of stories, I want to take a look at something that's been on my mind since the last episode and is in fact something I've experienced before when unboxing and reviewing a certain brand of e-ink tablets. So grab yourself a cuppa, get yourself comfortable and let's get cracking. Some e-ink tablets are starting to feel more like iPads and I'm not entirely convinced that's a good thing. Take Onyx BOOX tablets for example. They do a lot. And hear me correctly please, for some people that's exactly what they need. Total freedom. Every setting, every option. But for me, it just feels like a bit too much. Menus within menus, settings for everything, endless ways to tweak the experience. I found myself thinking about this again when looking at the recent BOOX Go 10.3 Gen 2. The more I looked into it, the more it felt like the industry, or at least Onyx, isn't slowing down with this approach anytime soon. More apps, more flexibility, and that's a word I'll use a lot in this episode, more control. That seems to be the direction of travel. And that raised a question for me. During the same bit of research, I also came across a company called Dasung who are pushing e-ink refresh rates much further than before, to the point where you can reasonably comfortably watch video on them now and it's no longer that eye-squinting ghosting mess it used to be. And with that in mind, here's a question. If your e-ink tablet can do everything, why not just use an iPad? And maybe more importantly, have we started to lose the point of e-ink altogether? Now, to be fair, BOOX haven't suddenly changed direction. They've been doing this for years. They've been putting Android on e-ink tablets for a long time now, giving you access to the Google App Store and letting you install pretty much whatever you want. Google Kindle app, Google Docs, email, note-taking apps, even browsers and messaging apps if you really want them. And with their latest devices, they're simply continuing that same philosophy. These aren't just reading or note-taking devices. They're built around flexibility and the idea that you should be able to shape the experience of using them however you like. And if you compare that with something like the Kindle Scribe or the Remarkable range, you'll see a completely different approach. The limits feel deliberate. There's no app store, there's no loading it up with extra tools, and there's definitely no attempt to turn it into a mini everything device. You're in their ecosystem, and for the most part you just read, write, annotate, and that's it. Depending on what you want, that either sounds frustratingly restricted or refreshingly focused. And that's why, if you only look at the spec sheet, BOOX looks like the obvious winner. It does more. It's got more freedom, more control. That part really isn't up for debate. But I think that's usually where the conversation stops. And I think that misses something important. More features don't automatically mean a better experience. And in fact, for me, it's quite the opposite. On paper, no pun intended, having Android on an e-ink tablet sounds brilliant. All your apps, all your tools, everything in one place. But in reality, e-ink still has its limits. Refresh rates are slower compared to something like an iPad. You still get ghosting and there's a bit of lag. Even with the improvements we're seeing, you're still dealing with a screen technology that was never really designed for fast app-heavy use. So yes, you can jump into email, open Google Docs, flick over to a browser, maybe even watch a bit of video if you really want to. But the real question is whether you should, because what starts to creep in is friction. You're moving between apps and tweaking settings here and there and everywhere. And instead of just fading into the background, the device keeps reminding you that it's there. And if you're the kind of person who likes tweaking tech, that tweaking never stops. You can end up spending more time trying to make the tablet behave exactly how you want than actually using it to get proper work done. Listen, I remember wasting many hours in my younger days as a Windows user, tinkering and tweaking with my PC to make it do what I wanted, but I never quite reached the tech nirvana I was seeking, and so the cycle just continued. Now, before we move on, if you're enjoying this kind of roundup and like the latest news around Kindle, e-ink, iPad and related tech, please do consider subscribing. The idea behind the Weekly Spark is pretty simple. One short video each week to keep you up to speed with things that matter in this space. And if you find these videos helpful and want to support the channel a little further, you can also buy me a digital coffee. The QR code is on the screen. I'll also put the link in the description. It's completely optional, of course, but it does help support the work that goes into researching and putting these episodes together. Right, let's get back to it. Now, there's also an issue of distraction. If your device can do everything, there's always that pull to check something else, open another app. Just quickly look at one more thing. Before you know it, the simple act of sitting down to read or write has turned into something far more fragmented. For me, I think this statement has some truth. Just because a device can do more doesn't mean you'll actually enjoy using it more. E-ink was never really about doing everything. It was about reading without distraction, writing without notifications, and just slowing things down. Now, maybe it was a technological issue at the beginning, but I think it shaped how a lot of us view e-ink. And that's why devices like the Kindle Scribe or Remarkable tablets feel the way they do. They're limited, but that limitation is the point. You open the device and do the thing you picked it up for without any noise around it. Now compare that with something like a BOOX tablet. Yes, you get, what's that word? Flexibility and control, but you also open the door to everything that comes with that. And this is where the iPad comes into the conversation. If what you actually want is a smorgasbord of apps, speed and flexibility, that device already exists. The iPad and others like it do all of that, and it does it properly. It's faster, smoother, and everything behaves as you expect. So when I look at something like a BOOX device, again, for me, it feels like it sits in an awkward middle ground. It's not as focused as a Kindle or a Remarkable tablet, but it's not quite as capable or as polished as an iPad either. And for some people, that middle ground, well, that's exactly where they want to be. But for me, that's where the tension is. If I want focus, I reach for a Kindle. If I want flexibility, I reach for an iPad. So what problem is this middle ground actually solving? I think the honest answer is that it does solve a problem, just not for everybody. For a certain kind of user, these devices make complete sense. If you like that tweaking that I've talked about, and if you want to build a setup that's perfect for your workflow, then something like a BOOX tablet is ideal. And that's fine. It's probably why all these different kinds of e-ink devices exist in the first place. Not everyone wants the same thing. Some people want simplicity, and some people want flexibility, and some want something in between. It's not that one is right and another is wrong. Different strokes for different folks. This isn't about saying more open tablets are wrong or that you shouldn't like them. Not at all. In fact, I can appreciate what these more powerful devices are doing. They're kind of pushing the limits of what e-ink can do, and that matters. But I still find myself drawn to devices that know exactly what they are and don't try to do everything. So yeah, this middle ground does solve a problem. It just solves it for a particular kind of person, and I don't think that person is me. Ultimately, it really does come down to, what do you want from the device that's in your hand? Do you want something that gives you options, or something that gets out of your way and lets you just focus on one thing at a time? All right, that's where I've landed on this for now. And of course, I'm curious where you are on this. Do you want your e-ink tablet to do even more, or do you actually prefer it doing less? If you've got any e-ink, Kindle or iPad stories you think I should cover in a future episode, as always, you can email me at markfromthespark@gmail.com. If you've enjoyed this episode, a like would be lovely. Subscribing means you won't miss the next, and tapping that hype button would be a big help. Thanks for watching or listening. I'm Mark from the Weekly Spark, and I'll see you in the next one.